My name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Hi, hello, welcome to the very first haul of 2025. This is mostly a quarter 1 haul, except for 2 books that have snuck in April, but mostly a quarter 1 haul. And we are looking at 31 books hauled for quarter 1. Yes, I went overboard. Yes, I'm on a book buying ban, just being more mindful of what I'm buying. Yes, I have bought 2 books in April, even though being on a book buying ban. Granted, one of them was a pre-order, and one of them was thrifted, so that's totally fine. But we're gonna go month by month. We're gonna talk about the books that I have brought into my place. It's gonna be wonderful. You guys know how hauls work. So we've got January, my friends. 8 books were hauled in January. One of my first shopping excursions was with my friend Sophia, which is something that we have done, I believe, 3 times now. Annually, the very first weekend of the year, we get together, we do a little bookish date, we buy some books, we get some lunch. It's a fantastic time. And on that date, I believe I picked up 5 of the books, if I remember correctly. So during that, and you can probably go watch that video, that is the video on my channel that I also go through all of my unread TBR at that time. It's a fun video. You should go watch it. I picked up both The Blighted Stars by Megan O'Keefe and The Bound Worlds, which is book 1 and 3 of her Devoured Worlds series. I could not find book 2 when I was going out. If I had found book 2, I would have bought all 3 books because I love this trilogy so deeply. I have read book 1 and 2. I ended up reading book 2 from the library. This was a reread this year. It was one of my almost favorite books of last year. And this is turning out to be one of my favorite sci-fi series ever. So I'm thriving. I just have one more to go before the series is done. But yes, highly recommend this. This is, at least the first one, is a very sci-fi, horror, survivalistic type of narrative meets a little bit of romance when Tarquin, who is the son of the Mercator family, the Mercator family runs all of the mining of this specific mineral called relkite, which is used in the neural pathways and the technology that they use to survive and live. And there is a very fascinating technology that uses these neural pathways to regenerate and be able to reprint you into whatever body you like, however many times. If you die in a circumstance, you can be reprinted into another body, etc., etc. Tarquin, on the ship with his father, something happens, his father dies very catastrophically, he gets reprinted back on the homeworld, but this ship is going down. On the spaceship, there has just been a new body printed, and it is supposedly this EX Lockhart to protect Tarquin and get him to safety. Fun fact, it is not EX Lockhart in this body. It is Nyra Sharp, who is like the head almost of the conservators, who is out to get the Mercators for something they do with the mining. It's this whole thing. It's this whole thing. And they, have to survive on this already dying planet when they get there. So it's fun. Book 2 was absolutely phenomenal as well, and I'm so excited to get into book 3. I really need to get to it. During that same shopping trip, I picked up another sequel to, I've gotten a lot of sequels this year. This is a sequel to These Burning Stars by Bethany Jacobs, which is a cat and mouse type of sci-fi that is very morally gray, very interesting, that I'm definitely gonna have to reread because I remember very little about it, and I don't remember liking it a whole heck of a lot the first time I read through it, but I knew I probably would like it a lot more on reread, so that's why I need to reread that one. And that's also why I got this one, because it was going to be incentive to reread that one and then pick up this one and fall in love with the world, hopefully. So I picked up this sequel. We love that. And then I also picked up the sequel to Iron Widow, Heavenly Tyrant by Xuan Zhao, the long-awaited sequel to Iron Widow. And I believe when I picked it up and when I made videos that included this previously, I thought this was a duology. It is not a duology. It's a trilogy, so we're gonna have to wait for the 3rd book as well, which is a little unfortunate because I thought I was gonna be done with the trilogy with this one, or the series with this one, because I was like, oh, a duology, fantastic, we can pop that off. But no. Sharam signed another book deal and made it into a trilogy. It was originally a duology, but it is now a trilogy, which we love. We love that for them, getting more book deals and stuff like that. So love that. But yeah, this is a sci-fi fantasy reimagining of, I believe, the first female emperor of China. Nope, that might be She Who Became the Sun. Although inspired by figures and events from across Chinese history, this book is not historical fiction, historical fantasy, or alternate history, but a futuristic story set in a science fiction world, entirely different from our own in the way that many sci-fi stories riff off of the Roman Empire. So it's just using a lot of Chinese myth and history to inspire it. That is what I mean. So those are the 5 that I picked up during that trip. I had an order from a local, not a local, but a Canadian small indie online bookstore called The Book Archive, which I love them so much. They also have been stocking my books, which is really cool. So you guys should go check them out. And I regularly support them. This was an order that I made, I believe, at the end of 2024, but they only arrived in 2025. So I'm counting them now. Picked up The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters, which is apparently a very good literary fiction, Indigenous literary fiction about 4-year-old Ruthie who vanishes from, in 1962, a Mi'kmaq family from Nova Scotia arrives in Maine to pick blueberries for the summer. Weeks later, 4-year-old Ruthie is seen sitting on her favorite rock at the edge of a field before mysteriously vanishing. So it's, family, love, trauma, all that kind of stuff. The Berry Pickers. And we also have For She Is Wrath by Emily Varga, which I have read and I rated 4 stars. This is a standalone Pakistani retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo. It is filled with female rage. I was going in expecting female rage because I know the story of the Count of Monte Cristo vaguely. I know at least the first part of it because I've read 500 pages of the Count of Monte Cristo, which is like an over 1,000-page book, right? So I knew going in what to expect with the betrayal aspect and the angry aspect, and boy did I get that times 10. So we are following the story of Danya, who is imprisoned wrongfully for something that she is accused of. She is plotting for a year to get out and get revenge on this man who put her in there, who she thought was her best friend and lover. She makes a friend in prison, they break out together, and then they go on this long con where they get some magic seeds type of situation, and they can transform our main character Danya's appearance so she doesn't look like herself, and she can kind of slide into higher society because they also get a bunch of money because one of our characters, our side character, her father figure knew the location of a fabled treasure. So they get this treasure and they go about, it's very Count of Monte Cristo. And then they go on a bit of a revenge path, which we love. I highly, highly recommend this. Very enjoyable. Loved the writing. Very good. And a Canadian author. That was my goal with these 2 books from the Book Archive, getting Canadian authors. And then finally, the one pre-order that I had in January was Watermoon by Samantha Sotoyambao, which I ended up reading immediately when I got it in one sitting and absolutely loved this. It is so whimsical, and I absolutely love that. We love whimsy. This is about a hidden pawn shop type of situation that basically will take a decision from you to relieve you of this burden, and they turn into birds, and they keep a whole kind of room of beautiful ornate birds in cages. Something goes wrong. Her father, on the day that she is supposed to take over the shop, her father goes missing, so she has to go basically track him down through all these different parallel worlds. This guy shows up, and usually when someone shows up at their pawn shop, they are offering help, but this time the man offers help to her, and they kind of go through all of these different parallel worlds, and it's wonderful and romantic and very sweet, and I loved it. This is a Studio Ghibli movie in book form. It was great. Ooh, I forgot about this one. This is the 5th book that I picked up on that trip, on that shopping trip with Sophia, A Shadow Crown, which is the book 2 in the Halfling Saga by Melissa Blair, and this is the 8th book that I picked up in January. So this is a sequel to a romantic-y type situation. Love that. Anyways, so those are the 8 books I picked up in January. Where are you going? You stay here. That is definitely not the same angle, but that is fine. That is okay. We are just going to continue. All right, February. I picked up a whole whack ton of books in February because I went a little overboard. Just a touch overboard. I picked up Second Rebel by Lyndon A. Lewis, which is the 2nd book in a epic sci-fi type of trilogy. I was nervous getting this one because I've seen the 3rd one in store and it's a different size from the first one that I have, but never fear. The 2nd one is the perfect size and matches perfectly, which we love. Although I will say, I love how shiny this first one is. This one has none of those effects on it, so hate that. But yeah, this is fun, queer, space book. Also, look how significantly thicker book 2 is to book 1. That's a little crazy. Anyways, I also got my pre-order for Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, which is the third and final book in the Emily Wilde series. I have yet to read this, but I adored book 2 in this series. I'm a little out of the general populace's opinion with this series, where I didn't super love book 1, but absolutely loved book 2. So I'm ready to go into book 3. I think it's going to require an entire reread of this series, and maybe my opinions will change on book 1 once I reread them, but I'm so excited to go into book 2 or book 3. This is a light academia, scholar woman journaling type of book, much like The Natural History of Dragons. It's kind of on the cusp of cozy fantasy. It follows Emily Wilde, who is a scholar, and her nemesis, Wendell Bambleby. She's a fae scholar, and she goes on little adventures in each of these to study a specific thing. So I'm excited to get into this. I picked up these two cutie patooties at the thrift store. Anytime I see a Robin Hobb in a pocketbook form that I do not have, I pick it up, especially when they have really cool covers like these do. These are book 3 and 4 of the Rainwild Chronicles, which is one of the series in Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings. I don't exactly remember where these fall, but I'm excited about it because dragons are my favorite. And I'm still making my way through the Live Ship Traders series, which is the second trilogy in Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings series. And I'm in the middle of book 2 of that one, and I just haven't continued for a couple months. So I think the last time I read it was in January. So I need to pick that back up and keep going with my Robin Hobb journey so that I can get to this series, but I have a little ways to go. I just like collecting them. But yeah, we have City of Dragons and Blood of Dragons, which City of Dragons is book 3 and then Blood of Dragons is book 4. I also picked up Hamajang Luck this month, which is by Makana Yamamoto, and I ended up reading this for the Transrights Readathon back in March. And this was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I think it's a very solid heist book. Very queer, in a sci-fi world, which is also very interesting. Not quite as solidly world-built as I would have liked, but it was enjoyable, and I do recommend it, so love that. And it's written by a non-binary Hawaiian author. I also picked up Gravity Lost, which is the sequel to Cascade Failure, which is on my shelves down here, which I read previously, I believe in February. Really enjoyed Cascade Failure, and so I really need to get to Gravity Lost. I keep wanting to get to sequels and just not picking them up because I'm not in a super big reading mood right now, and there's so many things that I have to be reading and want to be reading, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is a typical fun found family type of sci-fi. Book 1 follows this crew of people as they pick up a deserter and then end up picking up this girl who has secrets that could end the world, and they have to, they pick up something that they did not bargain for, and they learn a lot, and it's all this kind of stuff. Anyways, I really enjoyed them, and I'm excited to get to this one. I also picked up book 3 of the Halfling Saga this month, and I am excited to keep going. I'm currently in the middle of not really in the middle. I've reread the first one. I need to continue with the series because I wanted to do a series video for this. And I'm intrigued to see how Melissa's writing gets better from book to book to book. So we'll see how this third one goes when I get to it. I also picked up Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler because I read Parable of the Sower, a 5-star. So I immediately went and ordered a Parable of the Talents. And I also ordered a book that showed up later in March, which is Wild Seed by Octavia Butler. I picked up these 2 books of hers because I wanted to dabble more. I wanted to finish the Parable duology, and I also wanted to dabble in some of her other series, and this one caught my eye, and I just absolutely love this cover. It is absolutely gorgeous. So I have these 2 books as well. Parable of the Talents is the second book in a very dystopian narrative. This one follows our main character from the first one's daughter as she's going through the journals of her mother, I do believe. So there's that. This one focuses more, I do believe I've heard, on the religious aspect of the Earth Seed, because that is what this duology is called, the Earth Seed duology, and is the belief system that our main character in the first book creates. So I'm excited to keep going with this. And do I remember much about this one? All I know is that Wild Seed follows an immortal. So we'll see. We'll see when I get to that one. I think that one's more fantasy than sci-fi or dystopian. I also picked up The Baby Dragon Cafe by A.T. Qureshi, which is a little cozy fantasy that released very early this year. I believe it's coming out in North America in July, I think. I can't quite remember. I picked this up off of Blackwell's because it has free shipping to Canada, free shipping internationally anyways. I thought it was absolutely adorable. I have yet to pick it up because I've heard really negative reviews once it came out. So I'm a little scared about this because I was really hoping that I was gonna absolutely love this. So I'm a little scared going in, but romance, someone opens up a cafe that has baby dragons and someone else is like across the street, the bakery or something. We'll find out. I also picked up the third and final book in Victoria Aveyard's Realmbreaker series. I know she's a little contentious as an author and her views on Palestine. Of course, as a reminder, this channel is pro-Palestine and anti-genocide, as everyone should fucking be. So I picked this up simply because it was on Book Outlet, which was very cheap, and it's the hardcover version, and I really loved Realmbreaker, and I wanted this entire trilogy to match. So that's why I picked up the hardcover when I did, because it was like on the $7.99 sale. So if I do end up reading all of this trilogy, I will probably do that offline and just not share it because I don't want to give her any more airtime because her views are a little wishy-washy. Anyways, picked that one up. I also picked up Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll, which is a book that I read from my library in January. Absolutely fucking loved this. It was so good. 4.5 stars. Absolutely fell in love with it. If you are a true crime girly, a reformed true crime girly, because you know how toxic it is, and you really want to get that high again of like watching those documentaries and consuming those podcasts, pick this up because this is very based on the Ted Bundy situation. This follows essentially the last murder spree that homie went on, specifically with accounts on the college girls. This follows Pamela Schumacher, who is the sorority president, and it follows the events of the night of January 15th when a serial killer comes in and absolutely fucking wrecks this sorority house. And it follows her kind of way after. It follows her before, and it also follows another girl who her partner was, she believes, killed by the same serial killer and was never found. She disappeared, this other girl. So it's phenomenal. I fucking loved this. It kept me up until like 4 a.m. reading it, and I was shaking. I was so enthralled by the way this was written. I also really enjoyed the way that our serial killer is never named. He is just the defendant, because he also, just like Ted Bundy did, defends himself in court. So it was phenomenal. Definitely check your trigger warnings though, because man, what a book. And then I also picked up these two books, which are the second and third of Jay Penner's little cozy fantasy of the Adenishire books. I picked them up because my friend, my lovely beautiful friend Lindsay, told me that the original, like these covers are probably gonna go bye-bye because the first book was picked up traditionally, as I believe this one was as well. So it's only a matter of time before these versions of the books are taken offline. So, because these are the self-published versions, right? And I absolutely love these covers. And because I'm a girly who likes everything to match, my first one, I had to. So I immediately placed an order and now they all match, which is exactly what I wanted. And I believe book 4 is coming out later this year. Have I read any of Jay Penner's books? No. Will I? Absolutely. Will I love them? Hopefully and probably, because who doesn't want some cozy fantasy? All I know is that A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic is pitched as like The Hobbit meets Great British Bake Off meets like Princess Diaries. And then we have A Fellowship of Librarians and Dragons, which I think this is much like my books, where it's all set in one town and follows different people. So we have that one, and then we also have this Games and Fables, which looks wintry and adorable. So I picked these up as well. March. What did I buy in March? Too many things. There's actually some books in March that I pulled over because I bought them in February, but there just weren't enough spaces in my bullet journal, or not in my bullet journal, in my book journal, because there's 12 spaces in every month, and in February I went way over that. So I had all 12, and then for my Robin Hobbs that I picked up, I ended up doing both in like one cover because I was like, well, I don't know how I'm gonna fit that. So I fit 13 on here. And then I had another bunch of books that I bought that didn't fit. So I put them in March because I had to put them somewhere. So we have Dark Mirror by Samantha Shannon, which I ended up picking up. This is also a signed copy, which is really, really, really cool. Also, these end papers are just fucking stunning. It's signed, which is so cool. So I picked this up when I was picking up a pre-order of Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher, which I pre-ordered this back, I think last summer, because as soon as Bramble released this cover, I knew I had to have it. Sword Heart is my favorite T. Kingfisher book, and I absolutely love that it has been picked up traditionally and repackaged in this absolutely stunning cover. I'm fully obsessed with it, and it's all got the spreads, of course. We love a sprayed edge. So, had to pick up Sword Heart. This is absolutely a phenomenal, banter-filled, cozy romance fantasy. It's definitely a romantasy, where we have Hala, who is this woman trapped in a financial situation where her family is trying to make her marry her cousin because she just got bequeathed a whole bunch of shit from this dead guy. I think it's her uncle or something. She wasn't expecting the money, but she got it. Or is her husband has passed away? I don't know. She's got a bunch of money in a different situation, and her family is trying to marry her off to this deadbeat of a cousin. And she thinks she's so stuck in this situation, she ends up being locked in an attic, and she fully is just like, well, there's no way out of this except for death. So the first chapter of this is so fucking funny. Okay, it is the funniest attempt of someone trying to kill themselves I have ever read in a book, because it's handled so lighthearted and so irreverently. So Hala finds this sword and she plans that she's going to like run herself onto it. So she's gonna like put the hilt out on this windowsill and like throw herself on it. As she unsheaths the sword, out comes Sarkis. This guy in a sword. And he's like, no, don't kill yourself. You wield me. I must protect you with all I have. And so, bodyguard, bodyguard trope. It's the best. And so they kind of go off on this little quest to try and like get her family out of her life. It's wonderful. It's delightful. It's my favorite T. Kingfisher. The banter. And T. Kingfisher has like single-handedly made me fall in love with the bodyguard trope. Only the way that she writes it though. Because in this and in Nettle and Bone, her male love interests, unparalleled. Unparalleled. And as I said, I picked up Dark Mirror by Samantha Shannon on that quest because I saw it and it had the signed copy thing, and I was like, well, shit, I know I have to get this at some point because I have I should have gone the other way. Because I have the four first ones, Bone Season, Mime Order, Song Rising, and The Mask Falling, of this beautiful, the Bloomsbury new packaged versions of these books in the same style as Priory and Day of Fallen Night. I had to. No, I have not read any of these. I have read the original version of Bone Season, and I do want to reread them, and I will read this entire series. I'm feeling in this summer. This feels like a good summer series read. But yeah, I had to get this one, obviously, because it matches, it's signed. That's why. Do I know much about the Bone Season? No. This whole series is an interesting fantasy, I do believe. Fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian, sort of? Maybe I'm remembering wrong. I picked up Wild Seed, which I previously mentioned in here. And then, in March, I picked up my pre-order of Oathbound, which is also a signed copy. Very fun. I didn't realize that I was getting a signed copy, to be honest. It's fun sometimes when your local indie bookstore gets signed copies as a pre-order. So this is a chunky lady. Have I read this yet? No. I'm rereading Legendborn right now. This is the third time I'm reading Legendborn, second time rereading it. I'm thriving. I'm loving it so much. And I'm very excited to get to Bloodmarked because I've read it before. So I'm going to be rereading Bloodmarked because I remember very little from Bloodmarked, but I'm doing that to then go into Oathbound. I'm so excited. I have seen all the hype, all of the love on the internet, and I'm falling behind, but we're getting there, and we will get to it. I promise. That is an urban fantasy YA series that follows Bree. The first book is set on the UNC Chapel Hill campus. She is 16. She's going as part of a program with her best friend because they're like a little bit of gifted learners. They're trying to do this program situation. She just lost her mom in a very tragic car accident that has completely shattered her life and turned everything upside down. When she gets to this college that first night, her and Alice go to this kind of like little bit forbidden situation off campus where there's like cliff jumping. It's very dangerous. There's alcohol. Of course, it's a party, right? And there she witnesses a very magical attack by like a demon. And she witnesses something called a Merlin, someone called a Merlin, Selwyn Kane, kind of quell this. And also another figure, Tor, fight it with like a bow and arrow. And she's like, what the fuck? And she gets kind of entrenched in this very secret society. It's Arthurian, which is my favorite retelling. I love an Arthurian retelling. And it follows Bree as she kind of discovers more about her own personal magic, her mother, her life as a Black girl, and her Black rooted magic in her. And also it's her navigating this extremely white, racist secret society of the Round Table. And the whole pages, squires, and all that kind of stuff. She gets brought in with this really adorable boy, Nick, who is the cutest. I love him so much. Reading this series has really just made me realize how little I like the bad boy trope, because Selwyn Kane can suck it. I'm sorry. I really hate him. Rereading Legendborn, I hate him. He treats Bree so fucking terribly, and there is no excuse for that. Like, he is fully, I know he doesn't say anything racist, but like his actions are extremely like prejudice against her. And because she is in this place, she is other, she is different, she is new, so she must be a demon to him. You know, like it's just, he just treats her so fucking terribly in the first book. I hate Selwyn Kane. I hate him. I hate him so much. I don't like the bad boy trope. I really don't. Anyways, that's my little high horse. So honestly, if she ends up with Selwyn Kane, I will riot. Because Bree needs to end up with nobody. She needs to be just a strong woman for herself because she's 16 years old. She's 16! Anyways, then I picked up 3 in one order and 1 at the thrift store. Star Wars books. I'm starting my Star Wars book journey with the High Republic series. So I have picked up this order. I picked up this order off of eBay, which includes the first book, Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, which I have since read and absolutely adored. Highly recommend the audiobook. They're so cool. Then we have The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott. And we also have The Fallen Star by Claudia Gray. So this is a very fascinating structure of a series, because when I was putting in The Light of the Jedi into Storygraph, the High Republic adult sci-fi series has 8 books. I believe the 8th one is coming out later this year, and that is the end of the High Republic series. But when I went and did my research on like different Star Wars books and where to start, and like got advice from someone that Julie follows on Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Starting with the High Republic books, there are 3 phases of the High Republic books that don't just include the adult sci-fi. They include young adult and middle grade, and comics and graphic novels, and also audio only situations. You say, audio only, Jen, you're holding a physical book. This is a script of that audio. I did not realize that. This is also a different size. One thing that I do hate, they're formatting all these books in different sizes, and I fucking hate it. But I will say, at least the like OG sci-fi Star Wars series are all the same size, same height, and everything. So we love that. But this one is an audio script of The Tempest Runner. This is a script by Cavan Scott. I'm so excited to get this audiobook from my library because, yeah, it's like an audio situation. I don't know, it's like a drama. I'm very excited to get through The Tempest Runner when I do decide to get to it. This follows a character that we've met in The Light of the Jedi. So the High Republic is set 200 years. Phase 1 is set 200 years before the events of the first episode, like the Star Wars Phantom Menace. That's the first one. Because this is the height of Jedi. This is the golden age of the Jedi. That is the High Republic. And so it is following that. And The Light of the Jedi, which I have read, follows so many different characters. It sets up such a cool world, and it introduces us to the Outer Rim world and all these different Jedi in this world. And then from there, just every book follows something different. I have a middle grade book from phase 1 currently sitting on my piano that I'm going to be reading at some point, because there is also an order to read those in. I'm in it. I'm in it like a dirty shirt. So I picked these up. But yeah, I was very happy to find this at the thrift store also for like $7. We love that. Last 2 books I picked up in April. I picked up Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This was also $7 at Value Village. I was very excited to find this because I have been wanting to read this mystery, but my hold at the library ran out. I had to give it back. And when I saw it at the thrift store, I was like, oh yeah, let's just get it. It's $7. Why not? So I'm excited. This is apparently like a silly, goofy, Knives Out, Agatha Christie vibe. That's all I know. That's all I know. And my friend Sophie likes it. So that's all I need to know. And then finally, just yesterday, I picked up my pre-order for The Ashfire King by Chelsea Abdullah. Finally, I have the sequel in my hands, guys. I've been waiting for this for 3 years. And it's a little absurd how excited I am about this. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I love The Stardust Thief. It is a fabulous debut fantasy novel. It is incredibly well plotted. I loved the mythology brought in. I loved the influences from different stories that we know, like 1001 Nights. So cool. And there's like Aladdin influences and all these different kind of things. Love. And I just absolutely love that one so much. And I'm so excited to continue with Luli and Katir and Mazen. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And yes, I will be reading this weekend. Anyways, my friends, that is the haul. Those are all the books that I have currently brought into my life in 2025. I'm very happy with them all, to be entirely truthful. If you're curious about numbers and how much I've spent, that's a great question. So in January, I spent $195.90 Canadian. In February, I spent $192.82. In March, I spent $161.51. And honestly, I don't know how much I've spent in April so far. Over 40, because the pre-order for The Ashfire King was 36 something or other. And then of course, $7 for the Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. Hello, baby. I know. She says hello. You saying hello? But yes, that is the video, my friends. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books that I have hauled, or if you have a book that you wish to share that you hauled this year that you really, really are excited for. And Freya and I will see you in another video very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading. What are you doing? Where are you going? Are you gonna go climb on the books? This is dangerous. This is dangerous. Get your tail out of the way.